You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome to Cards to the Moon. My name is Clark from 5Card Guys on Instagram and 5cardguys.com. And with me as usual is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards and John, who is Trade You at Recess. This is episode 98, but before we go on, all you loyal podcast listeners probably know that we dropped a short bonus episode this past Friday when we ripped open a box of the 2022 Topps Chrome Logo Fracture Edition box. It was a fun rip, although we didn't hit anything huge, but you guys can also check out the video of our box break on YouTube as well at youtube.com/@5cardguys. We hope to do more video content for our podcast as we head into 2023. And yeah, we'll try to do a few giveaways as well. Okay, so on with today's episode. Off the top, just want to briefly turn our attention to the soccer world with the World Cup currently underway. Unfortunately for us, our Canadian boys lost all 3 games in their return to soccer's biggest stage. But as of this recording, our other team, Korea, made it into the round of 16 by beating Portugal, amazingly, in the group stage. The bad news, depending on how you look at it, is we're playing Brazil next. I think they're world ranked number 1 at the moment. And by the time this episode airs, we'll know the fate of Team Korea. But a question for you guys. Have you been following the World Cup? And which team do you think will win it? And is there any player that you think might have gotten a nice bump in hobby value because of his performance on the pitch so far?
For me, I would love to see that Ronaldo Messi kind of, one of them win it, because, they're I guess this would be their last World Cup.
Yeah.
And both have not won a World Cup yet. So it would be great to see one of the greats kind of leave with a bang.
Yeah.
But obviously we're rooting for our, masked man Sonny.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might not be talking about this next week because it might be done. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's always fun to watch. Kind of like everything on the world stage, and that proves that anything can happen when you compete, for the best at the world in anything you do, right? So a lot of upsets. It's been exciting, but for me, I could see like guys like Messi or Ronaldo having a bump in price. I find there's been already somewhat of a bump as the World Cup progresses. Guys like Mbappe too, feeling a little bump, but I still think it's on a downward trend. I don't think the World Cup's going to do anything really unless someone does something like, for instance, if like, I know this is not going to happen, but if Korea did win, there's going to be a small pocket of maybe niche collectors that will collect Sunny cards. So it won't see a drastic bump. Whereas like, if Ronaldo or Messi won it, I could see some of their stuff, trajecting upwards a bit, especially the more rare stuff. And I see it with kind of like Ronaldo and Messi already with the higher end stuff, the PSA 10s that are super rare. So yeah, for me, it's you'd obviously want to stay off them right now just because you are seeing somewhat of a bump, but in the whole picture of it, I think that bump is still on a negative trend, right? Sure. So just be careful, I would say.
Yeah.
Correct. I think Young has the right mindset, how we treat NBA, football, hockey, baseball playoffs. Obviously a similar thing. It's front and center, World Cup, so obviously there's going to be a lot of hype. I have to think. I mean, first of all, this World Cup has been amazing. Like you're seeing crazy upsets. I mean, we're all of Korean descent, so obviously we have a personal bias into the excitement. But the upsets, and then also you're seeing like the world's best performing. I think the last couple of World Cups, like Messi was kind of shut out. You didn't really see a lot of the studs do their thing. But this World Cup is quite opposite. So I think from a fan's perspective, from a collector's perspective, everything seems gravy. In terms of bump, I have to imagine seeing Messi really perform in what I assume. I don't know, but I'm assuming this is his last World Cup. Maybe, maybe not. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
So it's good to see. I'm sure that's going to create a little bit of a bump. And for me, Mbappe, like after today's, I mean, we're recording on Sunday night, but after his performance today and where he is in the like overall all-time goal scoring list in World Cup, like this kid, tons of hype coming in pre-World Cup, and he is like literally showing the world why he's been hyped up. So I think Mbappe will probably be the big stud coming out of this World Cup, clearly for now. But we'll see. It really depends on who wins.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Mbappe was number one on my list, just living up to the hype with all those goals. So that's incredible to see. And I added Christian Pulisic. I know the U.S. is out now, but like there are some U.S. soccer fans, soccer hobby fans that are out there. And was it the second game or the third game where he scored the game winner and he was injured for it? And I think he's the guy that saw a slight bump, just my own personal observations. Now that the U.S. is out, I'm gonna guess that cards are gonna dip back down again.
Right.
But it might, for some of these players, it might be really game to game dependent. Like if they do something amazing, you might see a short initial spike, and then they'll come back down. I agree with you, Hyung, as well. Like the guys that are top tier already, like Messi and Ronaldo, it's almost like baked in heading into the World Cup that there's that expectancy that they're going to do something great. And their cards were probably really overvalued. Some of their cards, anyways, in the first place. So it's hard to see an even greater bump unless they go all the way. At this point, they have to go all the way to see that bump. But yeah, I think overall I agree with you. Like the only bad thing about all these upsets is it's just crashed my pool from the first round. Damn Germany and Belgium, come on, man!
Yeah,
like
it's crazy.
My pool just crashed right from the beginning. So I have no chance of winning. But yeah, I think one thing I was gonna say too was that I was kind of rooting for the States in terms of the impact it'll have on the hobby. Because I think we talked about this in a previous episode where it's kind of like F1, like the sport itself is international, tons of fans, both for F1, both for soccer, obviously. But in terms of the hobby, it's not a direct correlation. Do you know what I mean? Like just because you're a huge fan of F1 doesn't mean you're into sports cards.
Right.
And I think the US or the American hobby collectors and investors kind of almost right now at least dictate what's going to be really popular. And with that kind of thinking, if the US had gone further, there'll be more excitement for soccer in the States that might translate into a little bit more hobby interest in soccer cards. But I guess we won't know. But next World Cup when it's in the States, I think that's going to be really telling to see if soccer cards will take off. But we'll see. I don't know. My other play for the World Cup was I was kind of looking at Erling Haaland cards because he's kind of like no one's talking about him right now because obviously he's not competing in the World Cup, but his cards are still expensive. So that play hasn't worked out for me at all. But always check his prices, especially with no one talking about him until the World Cup's over. You never know. You might find a deal. All right. We didn't say who do you think's gonna win?
Oh, that's tough.
I'm gonna say Argentina.
Okay.
I'm gonna say
John?
Messi's gonna do it. Yeah.
Wow.
I hope so. I'm rooting for Argentina as well.
A part of me thinks whoever is the winner of France-England is gonna take it. I'm gonna. They've both been impressive. You know what? I'm gonna go out on. I don't even know if this is a limb, but I'm gonna say England.
Okay. If I had to choose between France and England, I would choose England as well. Just math. Apparently, to win back-to-back World Cups is like
Statistically
hasn't been
impossible.
done. Yeah. So, and France won last World Cup. So I'm just going by statistics at this point. All right. With that, let's move on to hobby headlines. So, two pretty big announcements that happened in the hobby right after we finished recording last week's episode. And the first one is the Topps MVP Buyback Program. And two, it's the SGC partnering with Topps, offering a very reduced price for grading cards from the recently released 2022 Bowman Chrome baseball set. So let's talk about both announcements and what we think about them and how it might impact the hobby. All right, so let's begin with the Topps MVP Buyback Program. Actually, Hyung, do you want to share more on a high level details of what that program entails and just your thoughts on it?
So basically, and I'm just going off the top of the whim, so I might not get the exact details right, but they're basically collecting the Paul Goldie and Aaron Judge base. They're giving $20 buyback credit to dealers, Topps dealers, I guess, for store credit. Refractors and non-numbered refractors are going for $40, and then I believe numbered. I don't know what the number exactly is. Numbered to a certain, what is it? $199 and up,
or 99 and under, or is
right?
Like, $200 store credit, and then anything above 99
is 100.
Is that's
100,
right.
yeah, and then I'm not. I haven't claimed any of them, to be honest. I've been selling them just to people who are buying them straight from cash, because I don't see, like, I don't want to go to my dealer and just, like, just give him a bunch of cards. I didn't even ask about it, but I'm assuming that, I don't know if there's a limit or anything. Do you guys know that?
No idea.
I hear from different dealers that there's only certain amount that they're claiming, but some stores are accepting more or whatever. But yeah,
it might be on a store by store basis, and there is a list of stores that are participating in this program. So, like, I looked at, for us in Canada, all the local stores aren't participating in it. Right.
So
Dave and Adams is the closest one for us,
which
is in Buffalo.
Yeah, so it makes sense for us to sell it just cash, get the cash, because honestly, overnight it went from being a 25-cent card to $20, or I wouldn't even say 25 cents. I'd say about 12 cents to, like, $20, sure. Or even the refractors and numbered cards, right? So it's good that they're doing it, because I think it also, encourages people to rip Topps Chrome, especially retail. Just something more incentive. It also brings, I guess, people into the store for the dealers. And I don't mind it, whether they create like a buyback auto program or whatever they do with cards. It's going to be interesting to see if this marketing tactic work, but I don't mind it at all from a collector's perspective, because there's only positives going from it. So
yeah, it's amazing.
Sure.
I honestly hope they do this every year, because it's a pretty wicked idea. I mean, it's just giving right back to collectors. There's nothing more to it, right? Like, Topps is just going to eat the cost under their marketing budget, or however they're going to maneuver the money, but it's just straight money to collectors. So I think this is a great program. It's pretty awesome to see, and perhaps Topps is kind of making up for their blunder, right? So
yeah, for sure. I love it. The only questions I have is, like, I went to Walmart the other day and I saw a few Topps Chrome 2022 Topps Chrome blasters.
Right. I
can't remember how much they were before this. I want to say that they were like $30, $40 maybe, $39.99 Canadian.
$39.99, I want to say.
Was it?
probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's $55 now.
But Clark, I was at Walmart this week.
Okay.
And they're having a sale. And it said 25% off, and Topps Chrome was on that product. But it ended up, like, I bought boxes, right? Like, it ended up netting out to $29.99 Canadian a box.
All right.
Wow. Okay.
So I thought that was a good deal.
But can you get the SPs?
Damn,
No.
I have to go back.
You can't get the SPs, but you're chasing Goldie and
true.
Aaron Judge
True.
at this point.
Right. Yeah.
I did pull a blue Kyle Tucker auto, which was cool.
What?
Yeah, which was not
That's
a bad
pretty cool,
hit,
yeah.
and a Paul Goldie, so $20
Nice.
store credit. So, yeah, it wasn't bad.
I like
Just
it.
throw that in there, yeah.
Okay, I got to go back to Walmart.
Yeah,
They weren't doing that
25%. I think till like December 7th or something. Maybe they're doing like a 25% off sale on retail. I guess it there's a lot of full shelves, and that's what we've been noticing
Right.
too. A lot of people staying off ripping, and people
Sure.
are disappointed in the silver packs because there's basically 4 base cards in every single one of them. But I mean,
Yeah.
some people hit monsters though. So I know
Uh,
hobby stores are still selling the silver pack, or selling Topps Chrome hobbies with silver packs, so they're still out there.
Yeah. No, it's a great idea. I mean, we just ripped open the Topps Chrome light boxes the
Terrible.
the same day. We
I told you guys.
It was pretty bad. And I think I only had one Goldie out of the 2 boxes that I opened.
Right.
And we opened like what, 10 collectively, and we never saw like one Judge card
Right.
wasn't even in there.
Couple of
Right.
Goldies.
which is crazy, right?
And nothing else special.
Couple of Goldies, yeah. So stay away from those.
Maybe
light boxes.
that was their way of saying sorry, so they knew how garbage it was, so it was the only way to incentivize us repeat buyers, right?
Yeah, it was a little disappointing, but the overall idea of this MVP buyback program is pretty neat. It reminds me of when the Topps NFT packs came out a year ago, and then I bought some packs, of course, and then you get 4 or 5 cards per pack, and what they did was you could redeem or you could chase 5 of those base cards, and if you have 5 of those base cards, you could burn them. NFT speak, which is like just submit them, just redeem them, and then they give you a nice, just a better NFT card that's
Right.
more valuable. So I could see maybe they do something like that in the future, where instead of just looking for Goldie or Aaron Judge MVP, they could say like, if you have 5 of these base cards, 5 different players base cards, you could submit them to whether it's your local card store or whether it's back to Topps. Then you could redeem it for just a better card, a color card, autograph, something creative like that. I would like to see in the future. There's so many different opportunities you can do now if they're willing to do it. But I think this is a very good first start for Topps. And it's good. Like, it doesn't, it increases the value of these cards without increasing the print runs. That was always an issue too with cards, right?
But the scary thing too is a lot of these guys are buying, and I know a lot of people have access to it, so they're cashing in. But Top says they could end this promotion at any time, right? So
Sure.
if you're a person that's constantly buying because you may be having an in with a store that's collecting them, and you could use them towards cards, I wouldn't hold them too long, because Topps could just pull the plug on it at any time, right?
You think the hobby stores are the ones
Yep.
buying it all up?
No, definitely not. I think yeah, it's more of a a percentage thing where it's not even putting in the dent in Topps. I don't think, people think, wow, they're giving money away to these hobby stores, but it's encouraging hobby stores to, be able to, keep busy and have a healthy relationship, right? It's like those marketing programs that any supplier in any business chain does. They're going to offer incentives for certain programs, but I don't think the hobby guys are eating it up.
Man, I would if I was a hobby
Yeah.
store. But for $10, you get $20 back from Topps. It makes sense to me.
Well, I listed my Goldie that I hit on just last week, and I just listed it yesterday, and I sold it within 15 minutes for like $15. Like
Nice.
they're it's pretty liquid
Yeah.
still. So yeah, if you have them, don't hold on to them long. Just put them up. You'll get someone buying it for sure. But I like this particular program too, because I know there's an extra element of complexity with involving the local card stores, because they got to take it in, and the ones that are participating anyways got to take those cards in, and then they got to do things on the back end with Topps. But for the local card stores, theoretically you should get traffic into your stores as well, right? And then, it's kind of like supermarkets. You offer a discount on a popular product, and then most people buy other stuff too while they're there. So I think best case scenario for local card stores, if you draw them in with this program, and then hopefully they buy a box or another pack and just do more business. But I like it. Good on you, Topps. I know we don't say that a lot about Topps, but this is where we should give credit where it's due. All right, the second big announcement was the SGC announcement that they're partnering with Topps as well to grade any card from the 2022 Bowman Chrome baseball set for, I believe, $9 US a piece. And there's no maximum value you have to declare, no minimum amount of cards to submit. You could literally submit one base card that's for your PC, and it'll be $9. No strings attached there. Your thoughts on this program?
I really love it because I'm ripping 22 Chrome like crazy, and it's a great option. I think it's great for SGC because they're trying to get into the game. This is the perfect way to kind of get monster cards into it, but I don't know if you'll get the monster cards still, because I feel like people are still submitting the monster cards at PSA and then kind of being selective of what they send to SGC. But right. I think it's a great opportunity to save a lot of money on grading, and I think it's another mutual benefit for both parties. For us people that don't want to spend $30 a card on grading, you could get slabbed for $8, and it increases our profits for guys that want to sell. But I don't mind SGC at all. I think there's room in the space for, especially with BGS kind of like dropping the ball and not being present in the hobby right now. SGC is really making a move to kind of push that market, because the Bowman Chrome prospect market was owned by BGS. It wasn't a PSA thing, before COVID, and all of a sudden, PSA becomes the ultimate submitter for these Bowman Chromes, right? So I think for someone to step in like SGC to see that opportunity with Bowman Chrome, I think it's great that you're going to see some big time prospects, and that's a smart move, because you're going to see those cards, and those future guys might not pan out until later down the road. And they're stuck in SGC cards, right, or SGC slabs. So I remember we talked about FCG a while back, and one of their strategies was that they had the Bobby Witt orange autos in FCG, because that kind of brings credibility to the brand and stuff like that. So I think SGC is kind of doing the same thing with Topps here, and I like it because I'm gonna submit a lot of cards through this program and benefit from it. So I'm all for it.
100%. Awesome. Another great incentive promo that gives back to the hobby. You have to imagine, especially PSA and SGC over the last 18 months with their huge backlogs, they are probably 10x the number of employees in their offices, especially graders. And with prices coming back down, with volumes not as crazy as 18 months ago, like, to be honest, I'd have to imagine they got to do something with all these employees, right? Like, they're ready to go, and the numbers are probably not as big, especially with the way the economy is going. So you got to get kind of creative. And I think this is a great move by SGC, because they're being creative without dropping their regular price and looking cheap and looking further like a discount brand. They're promoting into a product that is being one of the hottest products, period, in the hobby, certainly in baseball. So it was kind of like a crafty, creative way to drop their prices and capture a lot of volume without kind of devaluing the brand. So I think great move on SGC, an amazing promo for the hobby, amazing, especially for people that are ripping Bowman. I mean, good all around. Like $9, like, that's pretty cool. You can, even if you saw some cool cards that you just thought for your PC, like, okay, maybe this is not worth much, but I'm going to submit it. $9, like, why not, So I think it's a great thing. Awesome. For sure. Awesome all around.
Yep. Agreed. And we talked about this on a previous episode, I believe just even last week, about like what does tag and what does Arena Club have to do with to gain market share. And this is a really smart play for SGC to gain market share. It's an easy way to get as many of the, one of the more popular baseball sets slabbed in their slabs. And it's a great marketing play that way. And also, like what Hyung was saying, you might want to get a prospect auto that's, maybe not the hit right now, but you just get a slab because it's $9. But then, 3 or 4 years down the line, they become a stud, right? And then they're all in SGC slabs because of this promo. And, that's even better marketing for them. So it's like a good short-term and long-term play for SGC. And you need to have those bigger cards in those slabs to increase credibility in terms of, our slabs command a certain value. And then I think doing this with Bowman Chrome products, especially with the prospects in there, it's just a smart play. So good for SGC. I wonder if other grading companies will kind of take a page from their playbook. We'll see. But it's just a great idea for SGC. And something related to that, I just read with SGC partnering with PWCC now, their auction house. They're streamlining their process where you can submit raw cards to PWCC and have SGC grade it within 10 days for $20 a card. So it doesn't have to be limited to Bowman Chrome. But any raw card, they will grade it within 10 days, slab it, and for $20, and then you could either vault it for PWCC. So this is beneficial for PWCC, and or you could just send it to one of their upcoming auctions. So it looks like SGC is really just strategizing. Right. They're really playing chess at this point now and trying to do what they can while the market's down. But good for them. So we'll see what comes of it. But for me, it'll be interesting to see how Beckett and PSA respond, and even CSG and all these other smaller companies. They might have to kind of think more creatively to better compete, because it's as we said in the last week's episode, it's very competitive. So you got to almost think outside of the box at this point. And it looks like SGC is already ahead. All right. Yeah. 2 big pieces of announcement. Glad to see in the hobby. And, I think we agree that it's just good news for the hobby, and we hope to see more of this in 2023. Let's move on now to our next segment we're calling Quiz Show. So for this new segment, I did a little bit of research on what current hobby trends are, and I want to ask you guys a few questions to see if you can guess the right answers, kind of like a quiz show. So, and I think some of the answers might surprise you and our listeners. Just the things that I found out based on preliminary research. All right, so first question. According to the CardLadder Index, which of the 4 major sports has seen the biggest decrease in card values year to date? Okay, and the 4 sports I'm including is baseball, basketball, hockey, and football.
Wow.
I'm gonna say basketball.
Okay.
I think seeing so many stars go down, I'm gonna say baseball.
All right, so baseball and basketball. Basketball saw, according to the CardLadder Index year to date, saw a decline of almost 31%. Okay. Wow. Baseball, year to date, has seen a decline of 3.3%.
Oh,
wow.
Way off.
So Johnny's way off here in this one. Hyung is much closer, but the answer is, according to CardLadder, football has seen a decrease of almost 35%.
Okay.
Wow.
And it kind of makes sense because we're halfway through the season, pretty much. And there's some stars that are just not performing this year, right? It's kind of crazy with football, what's going on. Quarterbacks aren't producing the numbers they did in the last 2 seasons. So yeah, it makes sense to me in hindsight, of course. But I was a little surprised because I would have guessed basketball as well, because we saw a huge correction there. But I guess now the football season has started, yeah, people are just like,
Interesting that baseball held up strong for the most part.
that's also surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Very, very
like we said
surprising.
earlier in the episodes that I guess the rookie class will be important in terms of like how the hobby responds, and I think Wander and Spencer were a little disappointing, but you had Julio on the other side, which made the chase interesting. Still there's still interest with Bobby Witt Jr. So I think having a good rookie class kind of helped the baseball market a bit, especially with guys like Jeremy Pena, coming in and stealing the show a bit. So having a little bit more spark in that. So it was a good year for baseball overall.
Yeah.
I will say my collection did not see a 3.3% decrease. It's a heck of a lot more than 3.3%. That's for sure.
Yeah, mine would have been, but my Aaron Judge kind of
held you up.
Held me up a little bit there. Kept it balanced. All right, the other question similar to this was, which of the four major sports has seen the biggest increase?
I'm going to say hockey.
Yeah, it's gotta be
not?
Yeah, it's got to be hockey.
Was that one? Yeah, hockey. I would say.
Well, hockey could have seen a bigger decrease than baseball.
No, I'm going to say hockey. I feel like there's still younger.
Was the question which has seen an increase?
Yeah, increase.
Biggest increase in card value. Yeah, you're saying hockey as well.
Hockey, yeah, I'm gonna go with hockey as well.
All right, hockey is the right answer. It's actually seen an increase of almost 9% year to date.
Dang.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Which is also surprising to me.
Yeah.
I wonder what it was that, because we had talked about the Wayne Gretzky in one of our segments where like those prices have come down a lot, right? All the OPG, but I wonder what's propping it up. I don't know.
It's interesting, but yeah, it makes sense in terms of hockey. We talked about this last year, how that's one of the stuff we thought hockey was going to gain popularity, and it's going to be a lot more collectors in the market. And then maybe the release of SP too. Who knows? Like we haven't had one in a while, so it could be a combination of a lot of things. Yeah.
Right. I'd like to see both of that. Yeah, both hockey increase, and then because I kind of want to get into hockey a bit more. Us being here in Canada, it's more accessible for us, especially when going to local card shows. So that's good to see that kind of trend. And then obviously, as primary baseball card collectors, it's good to see that it's kind of holding its value up for this year. So, all right. The next question I had is, I got to give props to Eric Whiteback. He's also known as the Collectibles Guru. You might be following him on Twitter and Instagram. He always has these interesting nuggets of information kind of based on different data. So the next 2 or 3 are based on some of his tweets. And I just kind of rephrased it as questions. All right. So the first one, he tweeted a week or 2 weeks ago, the Spencer Torkelson first Bowman Chrome autograph red refractor, numbered to 5, PSA 10, sold for $111,360 in April of this year. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
It's sold again 7 months later, November of this year, just this past month. The question is, what was the recent sale price?
Was that the same one?
Oh my gosh.
The same.
Was that the same card, or is it a pop one?
I believe it was the same card.
It was the same card that sold, and it was $111,000.
Yes.
I'm gonna say it dipped. I'm gonna say $25,000.
Okay.
Wow.
That's a steep decline.
Four times. Because Spencer was Go ahead.
I was gonna say like $12,000. Like I don't know, it's a red.
You might be right.
Spencer Torkelson, like really?
I still like 12. Spencer. I think there's still people that believe in Spencer. That's why.
Sure.
And he's still young, enough. And he could next year have a year where he hits 40. I'm just saying.
Right.
Like that's the type of player you have.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, I remember like April, so like people were optimistic about prospects then, right? Like heading into the season. And for me, I just felt that Spencer Torkelson and J-Rod were kind of on even footing, like people are equally excited for both of them heading into the season. And obviously we've seen how it plays out. J-Rod did a phenomenal and Torkelson struggled a little bit. But so Hyung, you said 25,000 around there.
Yeah.
And then Johnny, you said 12,000.
Either way, I think this owner is losing a lot of money.
You guys were pretty close. You split the middle. It's 18,300.
Oh, wow.
So that's almost an 84% decrease from that April sale price. Crazy.
I think you know what? I know it might sound, it was a true red refractor, and it was Bowman Chrome.
Yep.
I don't think that's a bad buy on the buyer. I mean, it's obviously a gamble. If you could look past this season, Spencer's 22 years old. So it's like, I mean, he did have a negative WAR, which is a little concerning, because now you're starting your MLB career with a negative WAR. Like it means you don't belong there. But I think honestly he could have a monster year, and it'll take one big year for him to be kind of like a superstar in the big leagues. But that's the gamble you take. He looked awful last year, so you hope for a better recovery in their second year for sure.
Yep. And look at J-Rod's red refractor prices, right? Like 300K plus.
Yeah, that's crazy. J-Rod's a stud. I'm so happy that he had a good year, because baseball needed it. Seattle needed it. So it's just good overall for J-Rod. Huge fan.
Absolutely. All right. This one is going the other way. I don't want it to be all negative. And again, Eric Whiteback, he tweeted, there are only 2 recorded sales of the 2014 Panini Prism World Cup matchups gold card. So we're talking about soccer. 2014 Panini Prism World Cup, which was an amazing set.
Right.
And the matchups one was the one where you had both Ronaldo and Messi on it.
Yeah.
And it's like diagonally split.
Right.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it's gold, BGS 8, 2 recorded sales of that card. Same card. Sold in April 2015, the first time, for $590. What did it sell for the second time, which was in November of this year?
Is that the highest pop?
Good question. I can't say definitively, but
out of 10,
I'm assuming. I believe it's out of 10 with the gold prisms, right?
Yeah. If it's the highest pop, I'm gonna say 30,000.
Damn.
Okay. That's a healthy profit.
Damn.
If it's the highest pop.
For BGS 8?
Yes.
And I would assume there probably have been no other ones that have been seen, I'd imagine, right? Or maybe not.
I would assume by the way he phrased it in the tweet. Like, only
this
2
is like the
recorded
first one
sales
that kind
of
of
this car.
popped.
Yeah.
I'm going to go 12,000.
Okay. So 12,000 versus Hyung, you said
30.
30. Okay. The correct answer is 55,800.
Damn. What?
So, Hyung again closer, but not high enough. But yeah,
Holy
that's
cow.
a crazy sale. Good timing with the World Cup and everything too, but that was a nice profit from the guy who got it for $590. That's
not
for
bad
sure.
at all. Yeah,
Holy cow.
he probably sold it for $800, and then the next guy probably shooting.
Or he traded it for like a couple of
Hopefully,
other
he's not
cards.
listening to our podcast.
Oh man. All right, one more question for you guys. This is Pokemon related, but it's more grading related. So I want to include it in our show. PSA graded their first Pokemon card in 1999. All right, so about 23 years ago. How many Charizard cards has PSA graded to date?
Ooh,
All Charizards.
I wouldn't even know that.
Oh my god.
Yes.
All Charizards.
All Charizards. I mean, I'd assume
I'm gonna say
20,000.
20,000.
20,000? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gotta be more than that. I'm gonna say 300,000.
Whoa. All right, 20,000 versus 300,000.
Clearly, by the whoa, I'm not even close.
You're not close because the answer is 696,000.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
I don't feel that stupid.
You didn't guess high enough.
Yeah.
Which is Collectibles Guru said is an average of one Charizard graded every 18 minutes.
That's crazy.
Dang.
So there's a lot of Charizard cards out there getting graded
Dang.
by PSA. We're not even talking about other grading companies either, right? So
Right. By the way,
That goes to
Pokemon,
show you,
based
yeah.
on our friend Roy, like Pokemon, especially the
gonna
higher end
say.
Pokemon, it's held up in the last. It's probably well outperformed sports cards.
yeah.
Just FYI.
It's kind of interesting. I never got into Pokemon cards myself. My son's really into them. But we always tell Roy to come on the show. So hopefully this will encourage him to come on and just talk about Pokemon. He always says he doesn't know how to talk on podcasts.
Well, now he for sure is not going to come on. You just brought it up, and now everybody's going to...
Come on, Roy. Come on. You'll do fine. I'll work some editing magic. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, you're good.
I'll take all the...
educate on us, because I just said 20,000. It was 600,000 Charizards. Jesus Christ. Talk about overprinting.
Yeah.
Well,
Come
you have to
on.
imagine,
All right.
like when I even look at Pokemon, like, quote unquote influencers, like in the sports card world, most of the influences are they're pretty new, right? They're sort of like COVID startups, like Jeff Wilson and some of the big boys in the hobby. How many YouTube or Instagram followers do they have? Like 100,000. That's probably considered a pretty, like Jeff Wilson would probably be in that category, right? But then when you go over to the Pokemon side, like this Pokemon card influencers are like in the millions of YouTube viewers and like Instagram followers and stuff, right? So
Sure.
that like clearly shows the strong, interest in Pokemon cards, especially in the YouTube and social media space. So it's, I certainly underestimated how strong the
I
fan
agree.
base is.
Definitely. I might have to do more research into Pokemon cards just to like make money on trading cards. Right now, where we're seeing a lot of this huge dip or huge correction in the sports card world, right? So for sure. Okay, that wraps up this quiz show segment. We'll do it again in the future. Try to do more research and kind of find interesting tidbits of information on current hobby trends. I think I thought some of these were pretty wild to see. But yeah. We'll do it again in an upcoming episode. All right, that leads us to our regular weekly segment we call Pick One. And we usually throw it to Hyung to start off, but I'm going to start this off because it's based on one of our podcast listeners' questions that was submitted a week ago. And his name's Chris Wright, so shout out to Chris Wright for following our podcast. He says he listens to it all the time, so we appreciate you. I'm just going to read what he wrote us for his pick one. And I'm going to modify it a little bit because I feel like it's going to be a quick sweep based on what he's asking specifically. So I'll tell you what it is, and then I'll modify it right after. Okay, so he says, in terms of suspended players, would you go after Tatis or Calvin Ridley? Tatis, baseball steroid use is extremely frowned upon, while sports betting really isn't, according to Chris. He's truly curious what we think about this and others think about this as well. So he's really asking, at this point, would you invest in Tatis, where he's been suspended because of steroid use, or a wide receiver for the Falcons, Calvin Ridley, who's suspended, I believe, for this rest of the season because he was caught gambling?
Well,
Tatis sweep?
You're asking the wrong person. I'm a big Tatis guy, and I just on that alone, I just like his talent, and I don't think steroids is something that he should be, I guess, limited to his ability and his career based off what happened. I just think that it's unfair to kind of like say that his career is completely done. Nor on the gambling side, like it's both ways. It's like people make mistakes, and to me, it's just something that if you could look past, I think, I don't think it's such a big issue, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but Tatis is a no brainer for me. Yeah.
And Johnny, I'm going to assume you're going to say Tatis, or?
I think so, and. It's a little bit. It's obviously unfair because we're a lot more baseball centric than we are football.
Right.
I think I will default to Tatis because Calvin Ridley is a wide receiver, and we all kind of know wide receivers, running backs are not necessarily the hobby darlings of football, right? Football is almost like it's just so heavy quarterback related. I will say Ridley went to the Jaguars, right? So it would be interesting.
Did you go to Jaguars?
I think so. I think he got traded to the Jaguars from what I read.
Okay.
It will be interesting because this could actually be more of a huge bump to Trevor Lawrence in the future, because Ridley's like, could be a huge stud if when he comes back. So it's a tough call, but I'm just gonna go with Tatis. Like if put them generically outside of like favoritism and what we enjoy, just the fact that we're talking about wide receiver versus a player that hits bombs, right? I mean, this is Tatis. He will compete probably with the most home runs for the next decade. So I think Tatis is different, though. I mean, I'm not going to just glance by the steroid thing, but he is one of the first superstar players that have got caught this early in their career. Most people kind of are getting caught in the tail end of their years where they already kind of accomplished their careers. So I think Tatis's study is going to be a little bit different. I think he can bounce back especially in terms of the player and also the value. But if we were to fast forward 20 years from now and we're talking about Tatis entering the Hall, that might be a bit of a different story. So, yeah.
Yeah, good point. I think it's going to be Tatis sweep for me. And, just to quickly add what you guys already said, I think it's more likely that Tatis can produce on the field, and then the steroid thing is kind of a thing of the past, or more likely for people to just kind of to not dwell on it as much. Just if he starts hitting homers. Right. So it's going to be Tatis sweep. But I think I feel like what Chris is trying to really get behind this question is the whole stigma between steroid use in baseball versus gambling, which is the bigger stigma. So I'm going to modify this 1v1 and include two baseball players, same sport, because there's also like the complexity of having two different athletes from two different sports. So I'm gonna throw this 1v1 for you guys. Pete Rose, 1963 Topps rookie card, infamously banned from baseball, right, for gambling. His rookie card goes for $15,000 for a PSA 8, and it's a population count of 423. All right, so $15K, give or take, pop 423. His 1963 Topps rookie card, which is the 4 heads, and he's one of the heads. If you're familiar with the vintage rookie card, I'm gonna put that up against Barry Bonds' Tiffany rookie card as the steroid representative, I guess. Two of his Tiffany rookie cards, PSA 10, going for $13K, total pop of 444. But based on just the whole idea of the stigma that both carries, gambling for Pete Rose and alleged steroid use for Barry Bonds. And we just heard news today that Barry Bonds failed to make it into the Hall of Fame because the Contemporary Era Committee, I think less than 4 people voted for him. He needs 12 to get in. So right now it seems he'll never get in, but Pete Rose probably won't get in either. So
yeah, the crime dog got in, Fred McGriff.
McGriff, baby.
Yeah.
Glad
Toronto
to see
guy.
that, though.
Yeah. A lot of people. A lot of people are gonna probably be upset at that too. But I think there's obviously a bigger stigma on the steroid issue because it shows that like people been fighting that question. Because I think is 63 Topps Pete Rose, like it's kind of the vintage iconic card, kind of like Nolan Ryan era, where these cards were very sought after from real collectors back in the 80s and 90s. Barry Bonds' Topps Tiffany obviously came in the birth of the junk era. I think that has a lot to do with pricing right now. And for me, it's a matter of, I think the Barry Bonds is way undervalued. I think Pete Rose's rookie card is obviously, an iconic card, and it's definitely, he's one of the greatest hitters of all time in terms of all-time leaders in almost every single offensive category. So I think there's going to be a point in time where, he needs a fair shake too. So I think the bigger stigma definitely is steroids. So you see a bit of impact on Barry Bonds' price, but I still would rather two Tiffany Bonds in a heartbeat, because I think I think Barry Bonds like 7-time MVP, like, just Nintendo numbers for the majority, just, in every aspect, I think he was the greatest player to ever put on a uniform ever, so to me that weighs a lot more. And I know one day, and I was, like I said, I mentioned on previous on the podcast that I was in the camp that, steroids, you're a cheater, screw you, kind of like that attitude. But over the years, I've changed a lot on that in terms of my stance. And I think, it's a complex topic. We could talk about it another day, but I'm just saying that I think Barry Bonds is very undervalued for the career he had, especially that Topps Tiffany. It's an amazing card. I think it's going to be an absolute iconic card. I wish there was a little less print run, but overall, I'm going Barry Bonds for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was Chris Wright, right? I think going back to his original thought, certainly, like Hyung said, certainly baseball, I think, has the worst stigma. I mean, it's mainly because steroids has been such a hot button topic, and it's been so commonplace in baseball as it's being uncovered. So obviously it's going to be a hot issue. Whereas betting on NFL games is very isolated. Like, when was the last time a player was caught for betting on his own? I don't know if Calvin Ridley ended up actually betting on his own game, but I'm sure he probably did. When was the last time? So this is kind of like an isolated incident versus something that is such like a hot topic. So clearly the stigma is going to be a lot different. I think both are really bad in terms of integrity within their sports, regardless, apples to apples. But in terms of your question, I'm going to pick Barry Bonds too. I mean, you guys know me. I've been wanting that card and to own two of them. And Pete Rose, I think we're a little, as old as we are, we're a bit young for Pete Rose. So he wasn't necessarily like any one of our favorite players or anything. So even from a collector's standpoint, it's probably a little bit unfair. Barry Bonds for me.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you guys. I'm going to put my investor cap on, and I'm going to choose Pete Rose because, especially with the news today, the fact that it doesn't seem like, at least for this, for any time in the near future, Barry Bonds is going to make it to the Hall of Fame. I feel like if there's a change in opinion over the years, which I think still a possibility as committee members change, and like people say like, wait a minute, his numbers are ridiculous. This is ridiculous that we're not including him in the Hall. And if that day comes where he's finally in the Hall, I think you're going to see a huge bump in Barry Bonds' card values, in my opinion. But I don't see that coming anytime soon. And I'm seeing the CardLadder graph of Barry Bonds Tiffany cards is trending downwards. After that initial spike where every card was going up because of the hobby hype, it's trending downwards slowly. And whereas Pete Rose, and this could be more of a play on vintage cards, are seeing in general increase. There's a spike with the hobby hype, it dropped down, but now it's kind of going back up a little bit. So with Pete Rose, and people, you have all these vintage collectors that are really into Pete Rose as well. So as an investor, I think it's a better play to get that one nice PSA 8 condition card of the 1963 Topps rookie card. So as a PC, I'm going Barry Bonds all the way, right? Obviously, that was the era that we watched baseball, and he was amazing. But as an investor, I'm going to just go buck the trend with this pick one and go Pete Rose for those reasons.
Interesting.
All right. Okay, let's throw it to Hyung for his pick one, and then we'll go to John right after.
All right, I was just looking at Soto's again. Obviously, we're always monitoring Juan Soto's because I think he's a buy in the offseason. And, I'm going to match his Bowman Chrome. So if you're in the market for a Bowman Chrome and your budget was $3,000 for a Bowman Chrome auto of Soto's, are you going to go with the refractor BGS 95? Right? So out of $499 auto. Or are you going with the PSA 10 base auto? So the PSA base 10 auto ended up selling for $2,500.
Right.
And then the refractor auto ended up selling for $3,000.
Refractor.
I'll go first.
Sorry, I'll go first since I already said it. Refractor all the way. All the way for me. I think it's an easy one, and this applies for me, including on the basketball side. Like if you were to ask me, would you rather have, Tim Duncan Topps Chrome PSA 10 base rookie card or Tim Duncan PSA 9 refractor? I'm going PSA 9 refractors all day long, so it applies here too. I'm going to go the lower grade or the lower perceived grade. This is even better because it's a BGS 9.5. It may technically not even be a lower grade, and it's a refractor for nearly the same price. It's a no-brainer to me.
It's a no-brainer for me as well. I'm buying the card, not the grade. Screw that PSA 10. I'm going with BGS 9.5, 10 numbered, $4.99. Yeah.
What if at the peak the PSA 10 was more?
It probably was, right? The base.
Well, I'm thinking that the refractor never had the volatility. Like it kind of like stayed
right
in a medium range, and it's still holding value more.
Right.
But I think the PSA 10s might have hit 10 grand at peak.
Whew.
Right? So it's at 2,500 now.
I'm still going refractor.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think because like some of that I would attribute to the hobby hype. People are like getting into it like, oh, PSA 10 is the king.
Yeah. They bought the PSA 10 for the PSA 10.
And now I feel like people are getting more educated. They're like, oh, wait a minute. This is numbered to $4.99. It's shinier. It looks better than the base auto, right? So I think just collectors in general coming into the space now are a little bit more educated, and I think the value of the refractor will hopefully be more than just a base auto, even if it's in a PSA 10.
And if Juan Soto,
and
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the pop counts on each one actually are similar between the two. So it to me it makes sense that I don't think that the PSA 10 can hold value with a high pop count because there's like 200 plus, right? So. But go on, John. What were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, like, if Juan Soto continues on the trajectory towards, like one of the greats or whatever, as we fast forward, if this is a long-term play for whoever listens to this question, these kinds of cards, especially the refractors, they just start to get locked up. I think that's what people in the current modern space don't realize is $4.99 seems like a lot, but they're going to start getting locked up into people's personal collections. Maybe multiples of them are going to get locked up. So fast forward 10, 15 years from now, and Juan Soto's kind of on a train to the Hall of Fame. You're just not going to see those cards, like those $4.99 refractors, kind of similar to LeBron refractor Topps Chrome, right? And when you don't see them often, even like a BGS 8 Topps Chrome LeBron refractor is going to command big time money. So I think the ratio in which the dollars make sense right now seem very even, but as it becomes more rare and rare, and as Juan Soto continues, hopefully what we think is a Hall of Fame career, that ratio and that number is gonna separate big time.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm buying that refractor auto. I'm paying a little more for that because grading is so subjective, and what's the point of paying all that inflated money if the correction is going to come eventually and people are going to realize that. But yeah, it's a sweep.
I like that question though, because I feel like we think similarly in this regard, but I'm actually going to put a poll up for when this episode comes up. I bet you there's a lot of PSA 10 loyalists out there saying,
100%.
Are you crazy? You guys are crazy too. I
could
feel like
see
that's
the other side
the
because think at peaks usually PSA 10s are most liquid. BGS 9.5s are going to get hit, I believe, like lowballed a lot more.
Also true, sure.
Right, so it's kind of like that balance of some people might do better in terms of profit if they're selling or they're flipping it, and they might do better off on the PSA 10, whereas the refractor doesn't have that volatility where they're making a profit on the flip, right? So
true. I'll put a poll up though. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah.
All right, fellas. We're you guys kind of hinted at my 1v1, but it's obviously World Cup soccer related. We're going 2019, and I married these two. They're not I mostly to do with the price. So I wanted to get 2 cards that were in similar in price. 2019 Topps Finest UCL Erling Haaland Refractor, UEFA Champions League UCL Erling Refractor PSA 10. Last sold for $2,100, pop count of 36, versus the 2017 Topps Chrome Refractor Kylian Mbappe, $1,700, pop 158. But the $1,700, that sale price was on November 26th. We're about 9 days out of that. So today's price, after the goals today, I'd imagine pricing would probably be pretty even.
PSA 10?
They're both PSA 10s. Yeah. So the Topps Finest is not Haaland's biggest card, but it's a low pop count. UEFA Champions League. It's it's top 3 of his rookie cards. And Mbappe is not his, it's not considered his main rookie card too. I think there's like a, what was Mbappe? It's like a 2014 or 2016 Panini, the split picture with the other dude. I think that's his like main rookie card.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But just to, I know Mbappe is, it's kind of like riding the playoff high. He's a buy high right now. Stay away from him and whatnot. But the kid has what's his thing? He's like 9 goals in 12 games or something. And I think he already passed Pele for most goals before his 24th birthday. And then the all-time World Cup goals is 16 in 24 matches. So Mbappe already has 9. Like in his career at 24 years old, he's probably got at least 3 World Cups left in him. In this current trajectory, he'll probably have the all-time goal. So yes, there's hype, but maybe it's warranted.
Let me see. Let me just look at the Topps Finest card right now. Yeah, I'm going Mbappe, man. I'm going Mbappe because it's Topps Chrome. It's just like, I'm not a huge soccer guy, but if I'm investing in Erling, it's gonna be the Bundesliga.
The Bundesliga Topps Chrome. I think that one's like 4,500.
Yeah, Topps Chrome. Yeah, but I like that, the marriage of Topps Chrome Mbappe with the refractor and a PSA 10. I think it's gonna be a big card with a lot of hype. And don't get me wrong, Haaland, same thing, but like Topps Finest is almost like the Bowman's best versus the Bowman Chrome. So I'm gonna go with the Topps Chrome Mbappe.
I like that analogy, Bowman's best versus Bowman Chrome. Yeah, so I'm also going to go with Mbappe. Although Erling Haaland's like, he's a beast, right? And
he's one of those guys
to
that
have
could
his
also in his own right break those World Cup kind of records as long as he's in the World Cup.
Yeah, he has to get to the World Cup. Yeah.
That's the issue for sure. But Mbappe, like, he has so many opportunities to increase his value, whether it's in the World Cup, next World Cup even. He's still a young guy. He's going to be competing, I'm sure. And, whatever club team he plays for during those years leading up to the World Cup. And, I mean, they're both extremely talented. And then, if that kind of cancels each other out, you're kind of left with what kind of card it is. And I'm taking Topps Chrome all day. And I like that card, actually, the Topps Chrome Refractor, of the one where he's kicking the ball. Like, it's a nice looking card. So I like it. I'm going
That's
with
the graphic that's similar to the Acuna year, right?
Yeah, 2018 or 2017. Right. 2018.
So it's a very familiar one to baseball fans. Yeah, it's an Mbappe. Yeah, I hate to get onto the train, but it's going to be an Mbappe sweep. And for me, I think being a casual, like, we're all very much into the World Cup, but outside of that, we're pretty casual. These are 2 of the biggest hype names in the hobby. If you don't know soccer, you certainly know these names. It's kind of like collecting Charizard and Pokemon. But of the 2, if you're going to put money into something a bit, for me, I'm just thinking, if I don't know the sport that well, I'm going to want my money to be in something a bit safer and as as much as there's oozing potential in Holland, I think Mbappe is already showing what he is. He's already, 60-70% to like a World Cup record, which is incredible. So the money is starting to get a lot safer, especially after Sunday. So I think Mbappe is the choice.
Mbappe sweep. All right. Cool. Great stuff. Another great episode. And I just want to add, if you have a question for us, or if you had your own pick one, like Chris Wright did for us for this episode, we always welcome them. You could reach out to us at Cards to the Moon on Instagram, DM us there, or you could just email myself at hello@5cardguys.com. We check our emails daily, and we'll definitely try our best to respond to each one. All right. Again, thank you. We'll see you again on Friday, I believe, is our next episode. I believe Friday is our next episode, so we'll see you in a few days. Talk to you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards, or John at TradeU@Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.